Well, hello. It must be Thursday because I'm coming on live in my For the Love of Dragons group. Hello, everybody. Araya here. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Araya Anra, and I am a dragon guide. I am a dragon, and I'm here to assist you and give you all the tools you need for your connection to the dragons, for your waking up to your own dragon. Hello, Liana. And this week we've had some big energies going on, so I want to talk about it because there's been some great questions in the group. Want to just get rid of any confusion or those inner contemplations of like, how does that mesh over here? I've got all this information and I don't quite know how it all fits together. So I wanted to come on and just discuss, since the event, we talked last week about the big alignment coming up on Sunday, the gathering in Uluru, how it was connected to Table Mountain and Rapa Nui, and share. I want you guys to share into the group what happened for you. Is maybe nothing, maybe you didn't sense any energy, maybe all this week you've had these big like emotions and weepiness and you're just like not feeling yourself and you're not sure why, and yet you might be feeling more yourself than ever before and you don't know why. And it's important to come in and share, not only because it makes you put words to your experience, it helps solidify it into really categorizing what's going on for you. And I know, like for me, really beautiful experience Sunday morning. I got to be on the Spirit Sessions, A View of the Light show, and talk about awakening the dragons around the world, including discussing this event that happened. And we happened to be in the corridor of the energy. It was so exciting because the call started an hour after the actual alignment of the planets. And because we were directly in that flow, and I love how Spirit works because we didn't plan that. Wasn't even really aware of the alignment coming up when I scheduled and said, yeah, this Sunday will work for me to do the radio show or the live talk show. And then all of a sudden we find that it's perfectly aligned, it's right in the energy flow, and so I could come on and not only do my alignment that morning and all the energetic work that I needed, but then come on in that space energetically and share the dragons and have the dragons lead a meditation that was a high heart opening. So if you haven't received that gift, I encourage you to go find the link in the discussion from this week about the Spirit Sessions show, and there's a link there to go watch the replay. It was about 45 minutes, just under an hour of discussion and all, but the meditation was maybe 10 to 15 of that. And talk about a powerful meditation in a short time. What a huge gift happened. And one of the things that I noticed, and this is, I'm sharing my story, which I always do, so that you can start contemplating your own experiences and putting a frame of reference to them. Hi, Willow. Yes, it has been a long time. Good to see you. And we've got another comment up here. Good afternoon. Hello, Liz and Jill. And we've got a lot of good friends up here today. And I've got to stop swiping and doing weird things here with the camera because it's not good to be touching the screen. So anyway, my experience with it, and one of the things that I've noticed dramatically, because we go through activations, we go through downloads, we go through energetic portals and rebirths and all these things on our journey. And we, sometimes I think, am I really seeing any shift in my life? What does this really have to do with me? How does it really affect me and click in for me? Hi, Candace. And it's why I think for me this one was so big, because the results, the immediate awareness of how I had shifted, like that day, I noticed a radical difference in my own, I guess, my heart space with my kids. My heart's, your heart space with your kids is always big, but there was a different tenderness or a different ability to come to their level and actually feel like I was seeing from their perspective, like really getting inside. And it wasn't just with my kids. I realized, I was with them all day, so that's where I really noticed it first, but realizing that all this week there's been a frame of reference shift into, I would say, a greater state of union with them, of being able to experience without borders, like a closer connection with their experience, so that we're having this shared experience. And it softened me into how I could explain things differently or how I could communicate differently. And that, I think, was a real takeaway of the validity of the experience, the validity of, this big planetary conjunct and there's all this stuff happening, and there's all this talk about it on Facebook or on the internet, and I didn't really feel anything, or gosh, how does that really affect me? Like, did I notice anything? And I want you to start paying attention to those little things, because this is the energy that's available, and if you're open to it, shift can happen like that. We tend to think, and I know historically, a lot of light workers or spiritual path people out there that have been for 20, 30 years pushing through the debris to get us to this point where it's so much lighter, faster, and easier. They know in the past we had to do a lot of actual depth work. Hello, Diane. Hello, Mary. To release stuff. Because it was a different time. It was a different space dimensionally on the planet. It was a lot more like density and stuff to trudge through in order to release and pull yourself up out of that. But it has gotten to the point where bringing things into conscious awareness can be all it needs to actually make a shift and release something. It can be that simple, and it is getting that simple and that fast. So this is why I share my story, so that you can really take it and relate it to yourself in the essence of, wow, if I looked at my week, do I notice anything really different about my interactions with everybody? Because that's where it's going to hit home. This is about moving into a state of union, and there's going to be some degree, whatever that is for you. For me, it was really noticing through the heart space, this empathetic ability to perceive us in a different place. And for you, it might be subtly different. It might be through a different aspect of your character, but pay attention to where those lines have shifted or expanded in how you interact with your community around you. And that said, the beauty of it, I shared this on the previous shows, but I'll recap briefly that the alignment with the 4 planets, and the Aboriginals were completing a ceremony in Uluru, which is what started, they stopped hiking up there in November for anybody that's not a native Aboriginal person, because of the negative ramifications of other energy work going in and affecting things there. And there's been a lot of people doing stuff over there, and there probably will continue to be in the region, but they said no more climbing. Beautiful. Because it cleaned the space. It allowed them to go back to the clear drawing board and complete the ceremony from the creation time in order to have the umbilical cord for Gaia completed and us actually be connected to the divine source through the greater central sun. I call that divine source Mother, Father, God. I can feel that divine light energy. I felt it all week in all my sessions. It's very present, as is the rainbow energy. And coming in, the rainbow dragons are the ones that I was shown were facilitating that. So the Table Mountain, there was a ceremony called up there, is exactly through the planet longitudinally with Uluru. And there was a group there. They're all connected to the dragons, and they felt really drawn to do a ceremony. And I was like, absolutely, I feel that when someone asked me about it. And as I was asked about it, I saw and was given, oh my goodness, this is what's happening. This male rainbow serpent dragon, it's a serpentine dragon, there's no appendages, but there are wings, and a female was sitting over Uluru, and they spiraled in together through the planet to create the umbilical cord. Now, the question that was raised in this group was, well, is the umbilical cord connected at Uluru, or is it at Table Mountain? Because one of them, the question I think came from someone who lives in South Africa and felt that they were being shown by their guides to become a guardian of that place, and that the umbilical cord was actually connecting through Table Mountain. So I sat with that this week, and I asked to be shown clearly, because what I saw visually happen was a connection, and I shared with you that the heart chakra, there's a perfect trine that happens on that longitude, or that latitude, between Rapa Nui, Table Mountain, and Uluru. And they're within a couple degrees of like this perfect alignment of a trine that goes through the entire planet. So if you look at the base of the planet and this trine, the heart chakra of the water dragon in the Pacific, the female water dragon from the Council of Mu, was triangulating energy out to both sides to facilitate and just hold something for Gaia. What that did was allow the actual cord to be birthed through the center of that. So there's guardianship happening at both ends of the trine, because the guardianship has to happen. The guardianship is in place always with the Moai and with my own heart chakra sitting there in Rapa Nui. But the other two have guardianship in place now for the trine to be complete, which allows the umbilical cord to actually run from Gaia's crystalline core out through the center of the trine, which goes straight through Antarctica. And I got so much clarity this week. I was so grateful for the question, because until questions arise, sometimes I don't sit with the information and allow the clarity to be there. I just sort of accept certain things and go, and I think, oh, well, I'll be given the rest of the picture when it's time. But then someone asks a question and it's time, so I'm given the picture. And that's why I love your questions. And so I was shown the umbilical cord is actually moving through Antarctica, and it gave me a piece of the puzzle, because on my list, and I've talked about my list many times with you guys, of the places I'm responsible for that I have to go physically on the planet and actually activate the grid and unpin from the 3D grids. So Antarctica has been on my list, and I keep questioning, like, why, and how would I get there? And do they allow non-military people to go there? What does that look like? And I just feel like it was another piece of the puzzle of why Antarctica is important, why I will be called together at some point. And I don't know when, but I do feel like it's a culmination, or it's one of the end points. I also know that I'm being called to Uluru in the end of this year. I knew it would be 2020, and it kept being shown at the end of the year, so that shows me too there's a culmination happening between now and the next winter solstice, or solstice period. It might not be winter for you, depending where you are in the world, but that during that time we have an opportunity, we have a window, we have a time frame of real rapid growth, real open potential to really be propelled forward if we choose to do it. And on some level, you've already chosen, and so you're going to feel this snowballing, rapid propulsion forward, your journey becoming so important, and it being necessary to, like, oh my goodness, I need to dive in and really take the time. I need to give myself the time to let go. One of the other pieces I really wanted to share, because this perspective of moving into a state of union and getting to a place where as these higher energies are available, and we're starting to understand the journey back into merging with our light body and merging with source and being in that state of harmony, that is, it's the golden age. It's the age of Aquarius that everyone's dreamed of. And do we know exactly when it's actually going to set and be like what our life is about? There's a lot of things that still have to come. We've stepped through the gateway. It's beginning. And stepping forward, we still have a whole bunch of things to get into place to allow ourselves to actually reach that. But it's like we've crossed the hardest portals. And now we have to allow, as this greater light comes in, we have to allow our minds to be stretched. We have to allow ourselves to go into potential and possibility thinking and really take the lid off of what we know is true or what we understand of how the universe works. Hello, Marcy, good to see you. Because we've really got a lid on it. We've really got a cap and a lot of filters on. And I want to share this because it came through in a session earlier today with a client, and it was one of the most beautiful analogies that a guide brought in to explain and help us understand the difference between where we are and where we're headed. And this expansion is so multilateral. Like, if you can picture yourself as like your journey is this long corridor, and it came through for this person as this long, almost like in an abbey that I visited in Europe. Archways, beautiful, simple, but refined archways, really elegant energy. And it's this long corridor, and it's so simple, and it's so refreshing, and it's a place of peace and solemnity. It's like centered. And yet you should be seeing daylight, you should be sunlight coming through the arches, like in a courtyard. Here's all the sunlight streaming in to where you are through all these porticos, all the arches. And yet, here outside of that, there were all these windows in place, and they were all covered by louvers, thousands and thousands of louvers. And the louvers were all only a third to maybe two-thirds to three-fourths of the way closed. There was very little light coming through. And they were trying to get across the concept of, do you understand how little of the light that you're actually getting, that you need to it's not about opening the louvers. It's not about dusting them off from time to time that we do, but it's about actually getting rid of all the louvers and even the windows that are filtering the light. And that every event that we've had, every conversation that we've had is like from childhood, even from other lifetimes, everything is cataloged and part of our cellular makeup, part of our memory, part of our soul. And all of those experiences led you to creating a filter, led you to believing that you were somehow separate from this incredible light. And so if we can have, like, maybe you had 2 or 3 experiences as a child where you went up and you wanted to play with anybody at the park and you invited them and they shut you down, or they made fun of you, or they bullied you. And then you decided, all right, based on that frame of reference, I'm going to respond differently the next time. I'm going to wait for someone to invite me. And then it doesn't happen, or it's a different kind of interchange and you get a different filter and wound put in because maybe nobody came. Nobody invited you to play. And so then you go into a different set of emotions and experiences. And what each of these is, it's creating a filter and a belief system, or a set of beliefs that allows you to think that you are separate from goodness, that you are separate from light, that you are separate from anyone else. And if we can just take all the louvers off, and in that time, in this session, a whole bunch were removed and a whole much more light was coming in, and it was showing like it's so simple and it can be so fast, but you have to believe that's possible and you have to allow that possibility. So it's all connected. I'm talking about that because this is part of the newer perspective. You have to be ready to have your mind stretched over the next year, your perspective stretched into really understanding the mechanics and the physics of the greater universe and not limiting. Everything we do here limits our perspective, which keeps us from that light. So, not going into a mini class or a lecture, but it just was so present with me today because I was in this session. It was like, this is the most incredible analogy to help people understand and start broadening, to plant those seeds that, you know what, they'll trickle through and they'll integrate, and maybe in a month or 2 it's going to pop out and you're going to go, oh my God, I understand what she was saying. So anyway, hopefully that makes sense, and your experience of it has been beautiful this week. The energies are still incredible, and I love that right now I get to go into a cocooning space because we are in a dumping snowstorm outside. And I love that because it creates this soft space for me to integrate all the beautiful energies and new information that has been coming in. So I want to put out to you guys that we have, starting 2 weeks from today, a book club. The Dragon Within Book Club is probably one of the fastest propulsions forward in 6 weeks' time that, like, you can't help but expand. It boggles everybody each time, and it's because of the energetic work in the meditations. The discussions give our mind pieces and click things into place. It also gives us a connection with new dragon family, which is actually a very ancient dragon family, so it's fun to find those connections. And there's only 5 spaces left. I only take 10 people each time, and so we're half full with 2 weeks left. And I want to put that out because if you're interested, if it's calling you on a heart level, please reach out to me and let me know, and I'll get the information you need, or if you need to figure out how you can pay for it in installments, or can you put me on the list for next time, because I know I really want to do it, but the timing isn't right for me, or my schedule's crazy. But pay attention to that, because if your heart is calling you, you might need to find the time in your schedule, because this is a window of opportunity this year. You don't want to be delaying, you want to be diving in. And this, I love another image that came in this session was this person's guide was pushing them forward on a hang glider with very bold colors, and even actually lighting, it was a dragon guide, lighting the hang glider on fire as a way to, like, not only propel it forward because fire creates energy, and but it's burning up the hang glider as you're flying, right, which forces you to, like, go forward to get to your landing point, to get to the next juncture. So there's a lot on the table right now, and I'm really excited about it. So bringing those tools in for you guys. I'm setting up a book club. I've scheduled it. We're going forward with it. Really excited about the new Dragon Hearts that are starting. The Eye of the Dragon program kicked in this last week. Right in the energies of that. A lot of exciting stuff happening there. Put that in your bucket. Am I supposed to be in the Eye of the Dragon program? Maybe your next cycle is coming up to be in it next year, and you have to do all those other things over this year to be ready for that. Also very excited to finally have, I'm getting the final proofs for the French and the Spanish, both ebooks and paperbacks, and some guided meditations going up in French very, very soon. So I know you English speakers that are listening, that might not mean much, but if you have French-speaking friends, or if you're in the Canadian sector like Diane Hayon up there, I see you listening. We are getting them out in French, as well as planning. I've got my first workshop on the books for this year. It's going to be in October 10th and 11th, up between Montreal and Quebec, Canada again. So for all my bilingual people up there, put that on your calendar, save the date, 10th and 11th of October, as well as anybody who knows they have a heart call to join me in Fuji for the activations there. That's going to be in July, the middle, like between the 6th and the 20th, sometime in there of July, to go over and actually summit Mount Fuji. It's not nearly as hard as Kailash was, guys. It's I think he said 6 kilometers up and 4 down. Yes, it's up and it's down, but you do it overnight, basically. 2 short days, 2 4 to 5 hour stretches of walking at a nice gentle pace sounds good to me compared to 3 days of trudge. But Kailash was incredible and so worth it. So I look forward to connecting with you guys however that looks. You know, if you're not sure what that looks like, sign up for a discovery call. I do free 20-minute calls to talk with you and say, hey, what are you looking for? What are you trying to do? How are you trying to connect to your dragon? Let's talk about it, and line out some options for you. And then I also do 20-minute dragon readings, fast and furious. It'll give you some hands-on information of what you're working on right now, who's working with you, and how you can call them in. Really powerful and really helpful. So you guys have a great afternoon. Always love coming to see you. Post your questions into the group or direct message me or email me, because I'm all about answering your questions every week. It helps you, it helps me, and the dragons love it. In fact, we might need to have Ask a Dragon a Question again soon, or maybe some dragon readings coming up. So stay tuned. We'll see you next Thursday. Bye, everybody.